Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt, I am the American-Canadian Gamer, and I just want to rant right now. I just want to let everything out because I've been kind of pent up, holding a lot of stuff in for a little bit, and I'm really just kind of in that angry, ragey kind of mood right now, so I just want to let all of this out. It's going to be very therapeutic for me. Maybe it'll get on the channel, I don't know, but I really have to get a lot of this off of my chest, and it has to do with FPS balance, and just the idea of whatever happened to balance in a first-person shooter, in a multiplayer first-person shooter, and I'm really mostly referring to games like Call of Duty, now Halo 4, and those kind of shooters where you're in an arena with player versus player action. This excludes titles like Battlefield because Battlefield is a lot more about the combined arms warfare, and there's a lot more to Battlefield. I'm talking more about the soldier-on-soldier, player-on-player combat within a game, and where the balance has kind of disappeared, and how everything kind of goes for this unbalanced effect, the slot machine effect in a game where you're not really guaranteed to get a kill despite the fact that you outplay somebody. And this rant is coming from just this little string of Halo matches I just played. A lot of Halo 4, I've been trying to get just a little bit of background footage, and I keep getting killed by the dumbest things. Namely, somebody pulls out Promethean vision, or a jetpack comes up over a ledge, or something strange happens like that, or, you know, something that's like, that doesn't feel fair. When you get killed and it feels like you got cheated. That death, it feels unfair. And that aspect has been just seeping into shooters more and more in recent times, and you can really kind of trace that to Call of Duty mostly, which is probably going to be the background footage for this video. I don't even have background footage for this yet. I'm just recording this on a whim. I don't have a script or anything. I'm just going. But really, you can trace this to Call of Duty with their whole create-a-class system, and the create-a-class system had a neat novelty at first. It was really kind of cool. You would select a weapon, you would modify it, you'd select perks that would modify your playstyle, you'd jump into an arena, and you would play. But as that system became more robust over time and things were added, you had to create counters for them. Like, okay, they brought in Flak Jacket to counter explosives. They brought in Tactical Mask to counter concussions and flashbangs. And then as they bring in one thing, they have to bring in another. And then it's like, oh, well, look, you have a ghost in Black Ops that hides you from everything, so let's break that into Blind Eye and break that into the UAV jammer, or Cold-Blooded. I think it was Cold-Blooded in MW3, wasn't it? Cold-Blooded in Blind Eye? They broke it all up, and you know, you just have that slot machine effect. I forget where I've heard that term. I didn't create that term for this, but if somebody said it's a slot machine effect. When you're playing a game like Call of Duty, you come across somebody, there's an amount of variables that you have no control over, and you have no way of identifying those variables that come into play that can completely change the way the battle plays out. For example, in COD, if you get into a firefight with somebody, maybe the other guy has focus, which reduces the amount of flinch you experience. And even though you shoot him first, because he has focus and he shoots you and you don't have focus, your aim gets knocked off target, and then he kills you. You know, that slot machine kind of effect. You don't know that. Maybe you throw down a grenade somewhere, and then the guy survives because of Flak Jacket and still kills you. Stuff like that happens. And I've seen it kind of really in Halo a lot more recently. It's really been brought to my attention a lot more in Halo. And Halo was a game that was all about the balance. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. The other guy is dead and respawning. That was Halo. That's how that played out. You spawned on the same level. You had the same equipment. You would have to go fight for your equipment and fight for your power-ups and then retain control of those power-ups throughout the match. But now it's like, oh, I go into the match and the guy has Promethean vision. Do I have stealth? Yes or no? If I have stealth, then I can beat him. If I don't, then he can shoot me as soon as he turns a corner or I turn a corner, because he can already have his crosshair on me by the time that the battle begins. And that's a really unbalancing factor. And you have to think, oh, I have this power position. I'm watching this doorway, or I'm watching this part of the map, and I have a buddy watching this, and then a guy with a jetpack flies up and throws a plasma grenade on you, and then kills your buddy because he had a jetpack and he could get over all of the obstacles that were meant to defend you and help you guard that area. It's that whole slot machine effect. And I'm just wondering where this balance has gone. And looking back and thinking in my head, the only games now that I think actually have that semblance of balance are Quake, Quake Live, which that's an old arena shooter that's still around, so it still retains that arena balance aspect, and then Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2, yes, it has a lot of variables, but Team Fortress 2 does something that other shooters don't do very well, and that is process information to the players. Let players know what's going on. From any distance across the map in Team Fortress 2, you can see what weapons and equipment a player has. I can tell based on the profile of the body across a map without zooming it with any kind of weapon. I can tell what class is standing there. I can tell if it's a scout, if it's a pyro, if it's a sniper, a heavy, a soldier. I can tell based on the shape of their bodies, their height, their posture. Like the pyro, he slumps his shoulders a little bit and he's holding his flamethrower. The scout's a lot thinner and he kind of hunches down a little bit too, whereas the sniper's thin and he stands straight up. And the heavy's got, you know, they all have that nice profile to them. Gotham City Imposters did that as well, where the classes, the body types had a really nice profiling to them, although that game had other problems. But in Team Fortress 2, another thing they do is they take profiling to another level. From a distance, you can tell what weapon a character is holding at that time. I can tell what minigun a heavy has. I can tell what scattergun a scout has, assuming he's not moving at the speed of light at the time. But you can see that information because each class has all of their profiling worked out so well. They are so good about profiling in that game that you can tell instantly everything that's going on, and you can assess the situation and learn how to counter it. If I'm a scout and I go up against a heavy, then I'm at a disadvantage, but I know how to fight that heavy because I can tell it's a heavy weapons guy. That's something that happens in Team Fortress 2. But in something like Call of Duty or Halo, if I come across a guy and he has the right weapon for the right situation, I generally have no way of knowing that until the kill cam. And that's happening now with Halo because Halo's kind of abandoned that arena shooter side of itself. You get into a game and a guy may have a jetpack DMR, or he may have active camo in a DMR, or a battle rifle and plasma grenades, and you have absolutely no way of knowing what you're going up against until it's too late to do anything about it. When you're, okay, let's say you throw 3 shots of a battle rifle on a guy. He ducks behind a corner, and so maybe you're out of grenades, so you kind of have to push into him. Then all of a sudden, he pops Promethean vision, starts putting shots on you when you turn the corner. You put a shot into his head thinking you killed him, when in fact he had recharge and shielding, and he had like over half shields at that point, and was way above the shielding you thought he did. You think you one-shot him, so you're in your head, you're like, okay, I got him. Then he doesn't die, and then he kills you. Because a random set of variables that you had no way to determine were there came into effect and made the game play against you, as opposed to letting it be a skill-based setup. Now, I like creative class systems. I like being able to set up a loadout, going into a game and saying, alright, let's do this. But I don't like the idea of, you died because of X, Y, and Z, and there was nothing you can do about it. That's where I really start to have problems with it. And yeah, the games are still fun and enjoyable, but it really does make you feel a lot more cheated about a death when someone just pulls something out of their butt that you had no idea was there, and boom, they get you. Like, okay, probably one of the best examples in Halo is the explosives perk. Lots of people run explosives. You can kind of just guarantee that most people are going to have it. I generally don't run it. I prefer to have dexterity and other perks, but explosives reduces the amount of grenade damage you take and increases the explosion radius of your grenades that you throw. So when you get into a firefight with somebody, you throw a grenade onto them, it lands like right at their feet or right next to them. They take the damage, and then you're like, alright, they're probably one shot. You shoot your battle rifle, nail them right in the head, and they don't go down. Yeah, you might still win that fight, but that's just assuming that that's all that's happened, because the whole time you're probably throwing the grenade, and the whole time you're getting ready to engage them, they might be putting shots on you, and if they throw a grenade at you when you throw a grenade at them, their grenade is going to do a lot more damage to you. They're going to survive your headshot, and then they're probably going to headshot you, even though you might have thrown your grenade first, and then you shot first, just because they had a perk. Okay, I had to take a little break and walk away and let my thoughts kind of gather a bit and come back, because I did want to have a little bit more of a point to this video, I guess, instead of it just being a rant. And I guess what I really want to say is I want to see games start approaching balance more from a core mechanical perspective, as opposed to just throwing something at the game to counter something else. That's the way Call of Duty has approached balance up to this point. If something becomes powerful in Call of Duty, they kind of just throw something else into the game to counter it. So let's think, grenades, flak jackets, fire weapons, flak jacket, concussion grenades, tactical mask, footsteps, dead silence. Every time something comes up that ends up being really good or just really effective, they implement something else to be the counter to it. And when you get something so wide like that, when you get your elements of your game to be so varied and so random, you end up getting that slot machine effect where battles are less determined by skill and more about pure luck. And that's something that's creeped into other games like Halo 4. I mean, compare Halo 3 to Halo Reach and Halo 4 and how much has kind of changed over time in that aspect. We saw it begin kind of in Halo Reach with armor abilities, where you didn't know what armor ability somebody had. I mean, generally you could pretty much guess that they had sprint, and if they had a jetpack, you could see the jetpack on them. But what if they had armor lock or the hologram? You didn't know that kind of stuff. It just kind of happened. It was just there. And they took it to a new extreme in Halo 4, where they added Promethean Vision, and to counter Promethean Vision, they added stealth. They took away descope and they added flinching, but to counter flinching, they added stability. Lots of things like that. I hate seeing that approach, because especially with something in Halo where descoping is so important. You know, you shoot somebody who has a sniper rifle. In previous Halos, that would be a hindrance unless they were good. If they could still get you with the no-scope, they earned the kill. They were good enough. But now it's like, oh, he doesn't get scoped out and he has stability, so me shooting him when he has a sniper rifle does absolutely nothing to him and he just takes me out? Yeah, that's totally fair completely. But the next guy I fight doesn't have those capabilities, so then I think, oh, okay, well, maybe the next guy I fight won't have that, and then the next guy has it, and it just becomes a big mess. I want to see games approach balance from a core perspective. Instead of looking at something and think, okay, what else can we add to the game to counter it? I want them to look at something and say, what can we do with this to make it balanced by itself? What can we do to it? Like Promethean Vision, instead of adding stealth to counter it, make it so it can't see through walls. Make it like a thermal vision. That would probably be the best thing. Instead of it seeing through walls, keep it exactly what it is. It does that pulse, and it's like a thermal vision. There you go. You don't have to add anything to counter that. Nothing to counter that. It's just, I would like to see them look at something and say, okay, let's balance it by itself. So I guess this video is going to end up being somewhat long. I'm sorry that it kind of got out of hand like that, but I've been holding this in for so long. It feels really good to get everything out. I hope that you enjoyed it, though. I really think I did at least get a little bit of a point across, that I just want to see a little more effort put into balance from the beginning instead of throwing things at the game and at the sandbox to try to balance it in that manner, in that Call of Duty style balance. I want to see it more from the ground up perspective. And I'd just like to see a shooter come out that just focuses more on the skills of the player, where the better player wins, not the luckier player. Make everything focused on skill. And I understand that making your game have elements of luck and having a little bit of a random factor does lower the barrier to entry and make it a bit easier on casual players, and I'm okay with that. There's plenty of room out there for every kind of shooter. The thing is, it seems every shooter's trying to do this and go this route and become this kind of really slot machine-y Call of Duty clone. I would like to see a shooter come out that is really a lot more hardcore focused and more focused on the player's skill as opposed to that luck factor. And there's plenty of room in the market for both to exist. I just want to see a new one come out that does things a little different and just says, look, it's all about the players. It is not about anything else. Better players win. Plain and simple, get better at the game. So if you did enjoy this video despite it being a rant, then I would appreciate if you hit the like button. It really does help me out quite a bit. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.